is a Cosmic Octave original podcast.
Me and Jake running down the street with a handful of comic books, kicking ass and banging chicks and drinking booze
No, not
and
me.
smoking
Not
weed.
me. I'm married.
Yeah, well,
I'm married.
Jake.
Can't do that.
Yeah. Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler and our fans.
Welcome to episode 158
Episode
of Off Panel, Off Topic. This past week was 3 years of this show, believe it or not. As I live and breathe.
3 years ago,
I took a leap of faith.
off of the cliff known as Tinfoil Radio into the valley known as Off Panel, Off Topic.
Which
guess what?
Hey.
Turned out to be a fertile valley with lots of plants and like waterfalls and shit. It's nice down there.
It sustains life. It's
You know
kind of
what?
crazy.
It was kind of cold on Tinfoil Radio Cliff. We had run out of firewood.
Not a lot of sun up there.
Nope. We had run out of what? No, we had run out
Because it's cold.
I was talking about elevation, but sure.
No, I was also talking about... I was also talking...
No, the elevation,
I was
you're
saying
closer
it
to
was
the
cold
sun.
because of the dark subject matter. The darkness that was inside of it. Oh, the outside.
Inside
Inside,
of the
outside.
cliff of Tinfoil Radio.
Wow. Darkness inside. Outside, inside darkness.
But the canyon
But anyway,
was more of
3
a
years.
valley.
3 years, buddy.
Valley.
3 years.
And I have just played this bunch with how construction's gone and Off Panel, Off Topic Valley.
Okay, I want you to be...
Opening our
Tyler,
new shopping center. What?
Tyler, we got to pace ourselves, man.
Wow.
Because we're coming in so hot.
So hot.
So horned up that we got to, we gotta calm it down.
I can't.
Because we're
I
excited.
only have one speed, and that is fuck yeah.
That's a t-shirt. Nobody would wear that in public.
No.
And you
just
shouldn't.
me.
Just for a reminder.
Just me.
You shouldn't.
I only have one speed.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Thanks, Mark and Mark, for pulling us back.
Yeah. Pulling us
What
from
are we
oblivion.
talking? So it's 159.
Yeah. 8. 9? I said 9. 8? I don't know.
Doesn't
I did this like 2 episodes ago. I
Here-
could. You know what? I'm
here's
gonna pull
my
it up. I'm gonna solve it right now. I'm gonna pull it up. Say, look at the last episode.
Oh, are they going to go back to the recording or whatever?
This is episode 159.
That's cool. See, but I don't know who's like recording.
3
I don't know
years.
who's counting. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not.
Well, I am for.
Well, I
records
mean,
sake.
we all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not sitting there going,
Oh,
like,
dude, this isn't even an accurate number because there's 0.5s. There's like
tons of videos. I used to do all those unboxing videos.
and all the other side shows are on this feed as well. so.
shows. We're talking.
Speaking of which, Modern Mythology, new episode coming out this Friday.
Which one?
Dark Knight's Metal.
There's a Shakaroni.
I tried to explain that to guests Luke Moyer and Tyler what Dark Knight's Metal is. It was a fun episode, hour and a half.
I love it.
Of me trying the hardest to explain it to
What
you.
I
And
really
I don't think I
liked-
succeeded.
No, what I really liked, what I really enjoyed about that one was, I know, like, you know, Luke and I are aware enough of comic books and stuff to understand that there is a level of what the fuckedness that you kind of have to expect, and
Yeah.
also like you have to be prepared for.
It's also
And when you said the fucking words Nano Alfreds, I just about lost my shit. I just about lost my
are
shit.
there Nano Alfreds in the room with us right now?
Fucking A, man.
Um,
Do you want me to help you, sir?
well, look, I always equate it to
Tell
this.
them what they
It's
did
very,
in the comic book. Tell the audience what they did in the comic book.
It's very similar to how I feel about pro wrestling and how I feel about action movies, where sometimes when you lead into the absurdity of it and just go with it, it's fucking awesome.
Oh, yeah.
And most of the time it is. And then there's sometimes the absurdity happens and you're like, oh no.
Now there's really
but anyway.
not. There's really not a lot of. You know,
Yeah.
Idiocracy is a great example. There's really not a lot of, accuracy. Like obviously, if buildings were leaning on each other, you know what I mean, like that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's the absurdity of the setting that helps the story and that also helps the humor. And you're welcome for me going ahead and fucking explaining fucking Idiocracy to you, man.
All right.
Carl's Jr., fuck you, I'm eating.
So anyway, let's
Guess
talk
we're not
about
doing that
The
together,
Boys
I
season
guess.
4.
Do we have to?
Episode 8 finale. Do we have to do the things that we agreed that we were going to talk about on the podcast?
So where do you fucking start? Like, we both said, you said this, and I agreed with you rather, that something has to give. Like, something big has to happen, right? To be honest, I thought everybody was in play last night. And here's the other thing, too. Weren't we all thinking this exact thing going into Endgame?
What? That
Somebody's gonna die.
Something big has to
Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah. Something big has to happen.
Am I right?
Especially because we
Am I
know
right?
the next season is the last season. So, yeah, there's that level to it. I think that this season, and I'm not even going to address the bad faith, like, it's woke shit. I think there are some valid criticisms of this season overall, narratively.
Yeah.
There are times when it is a little bit of, like, plot armor in some instances where it's like, well, why didn't they just kill that character when they had a clear chance to do it in this moment? But we're like, well, that character still... It's like when you're playing a video game and it's like you try and kill this character, but you can't because it's essential to the story. Like, you can shoot him, but it ain't going to kill him. You know what I mean?
No. I actually don't.
Well, if you play a video game, you'd fucking get it.
You stupid fucking non-gamer.
That's a drop. Anytime you try to talk about video games, it'll be like, "Hey, you stupid fucking non-gamer."
Somebody'd hand you a PlayStation controller and you'd be like, what do I do with this? Eat it?
Press X to fucking shut up. Anyway,
Use the left joystick to get out of here.
that's how you walk out of the room. But yeah, it just feels like there are that aspects to this season. But I think overall, I enjoyed the season. I
did. I felt like the
Yeah.
end, the final result of last night's episode. I'm not sad that there. I thought going into last night that Starlight was going to kill Singer, that was going to be an overarching thing from this season into next. I truly did.
Yeah, I thought that was
they
the
were
whole
not going to get her.
thing,
They were
yeah.
not going to find out about her.
I thought they were going to pin it on Starlight for sure.
But then I started realizing. By the way, hats off to Erin Moriarty. Wow,
Playing both roles like that was awesome.
The way, she really did great on that. But then you kind of, I don't know when I knew. I think probably the same time Huey knew. I guess. I didn't know that they were going to go there where somebody was going to suss her out.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were going to actually let Singer survive.
So that whole plot line, like, is so unsettling and depressing. And I think that Huey has been through, and I know in the comics
she gets mad at him.
I know
for
in the comics
getting assaulted.
I know we'll get to that, but I had to talk with my wife about that because she gave me an interesting perspective.
Yeah, I'm positive that my perspective is not quite.
Oh, I know.
Well, you were the one who started talking about that from last episode, which I agreed with. About him
he's been sexually assaulted multiple times at this point.
Yes. It's not,
and it is at times kind of played for laughs, which is, again, I don't think is a problem of the show. I think it's a societal problem where it's always been that male sexual assault has been a joke. Like, how many prison jokes have been in fucking movies? You know what I mean? And I think that poor dude has been through enough, and I know it's even worse in the comics. But like this, his character arc is one that I feel for him the most. I said I always preferred MM, but this season really showed such a redemptive arc to Huey, and it's unfortunate that it also came at the fact that
of
his dad died. He was sexually assaulted in a fucking S&M dungeon.
He got fake engaged to
a woman he
a
loves,
doppelganger who may or may not
sexually assaulted him.
May or may not have originally been a dude. We don't know. It even stated that
I don't
doesn't remember what I looked.
Yeah, because they've always been changing. But
fuck.
The fact that she took it to that level of like, I'm going to propose to you, because we also find on this episode that she not only takes their voice and their likeness, but she also gains their memories. So she was able to, that's how she was able to keep her guys up and things like that.
That's what I thought at the end of last episode, is that, Chameleon is, not so much the last 20 or 30 years, but Chameleon was one of Spider-Man's first really good villains. He was an ex-spy, and he knew at first, I think he eventually developed like superpowers to like, change at will, but he used to be really great at Master of Disguise. But the one thing that was always inherent in the story was that he had studied his subject. And that was my thing at the end of last episode was, wait a second.
Yeah.
She just, it had to have been some sort of telepathy as well. So that explained it for me, which, I'm one of those fucking assholes pushing up my glasses. Actually, I'm the plot hole asshole. I'm the plot hole. There is a shirt.
Plot asshole?
No, the plot hole asshole.
Why not just combine them?
No. I want to say hole twice. Don't.
I want 2 holes on this shirt.
I want to say hole twice.
I want 2 holes on my shirt, and I'm not talking bed sleeves, because then that would be 3, because you forgot the head hole.
Also 4, because how are you going to put it on?
So, all right, I need 6 holes. 2 on the shirt, and then the other holes.
Head, and then I need some jammies. Oh, I need some pajamas.
I need to go nighty-night.
Give me.
Speaking of going nighty-night, Butcher's about to kick the bucket in this episode. Okay, so what I like to do is, we'll get to his story too. I want to keep talking about Huey. I like to break these up by like character arcs.
Yeah, I guess.
And narrative arcs. And this whole, I just think, but despite all this stuff, by the end of this episode, despite everything that happened, he still wants to help Victoria, because he says, like, when my dad was trying to, the last lesson he taught me was, like, to fight monsters, you have to be human. You have to be empathetic. You have to show them love, or not necessarily love, but show them empathy and show them that there is another way, that violence isn't the answer. It's
about changing perspective, really. And I have to say that I have a personal connection to this, very much so, because, I've undergone like recent like mental kind of things that I've never gone through before, and like the other day my car died, and I'm out far away from where I live, and I don't know how I'm going to get home, and my first reaction at that point is always to just lose my shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's reaction in the room except for Huey's is fuck no, right? But he says to them, and rightly so, and this is something I've kind of been going through, and it's just insanity. The very definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results.
And this is after.
And isn't this his way of saying, like, we have to try a different way?
And this is after Victoria tells him the war game. She's like, "I hit you, you hit me back.
Right.
It never ends.
It's true.
I won out." She goes, "The only way to win is to not play." And she's asking him for there's no angles. He is threatening me. He's threatening my family. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Look, when you get down to the
because at this point,
when you
Homelander had outed her publicly.
Oh yeah,
as
that
a
was
suit.
fucking crazy, dude.
And he, by doing how he shows it, is lasering her in the fucking face because he knows it won't hurt her, and she just like stands there frozen, like, you motherfucker. And someone said that they thought that the look that she gave on her eyes, like when she was concerned because she couldn't pop Homelander's head. And I was like, I don't think she's actually trying to pop his head. I think she was just defending herself.
I don't know.
But
that would be crazy if... That's a great thought, because I don't remember what I do
her
remember
eyes
her
look
eyes.
like they do, but I
but
don't.
does that mean that her power was being used because she was invincible?
But
You know what I mean?
she is so obsessed with her image that she
Right.
wouldn't have done that.
But-
But
but
she knows she's
reactionary?
impervious, though.
Sure.
She knows she's invincible. So
Has she ever been
knows-
lasered? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I'm just saying.
They fucking threw acid on her, man.
Right, but
And nothing
if-
hurt her. She got shot in the head, you to me. Like, no, even closer. Butcher put a gun straight to her temple and shot her. So, like, the laser wasn't going to kill her. She knew that. But
I
she didn't want
know.
to pop his head on fucking live TV.
Just saying,
'Cause
like
she's still the VP
that,
elect.
That would be a crazy. We'll never know, obviously, because she's dead now.
Whoa.
But, spoiler time, pizza time. But that would be an interesting thing that she was trying to pop his head and she couldn't.
Yeah. But that was just
'Cause
like
she was like, "Oh fuck you."
that's
dude.
where I had a nice moment of like, okay, we like while I have been frustrated with other character arcs, I do think and I still don't appreciate what's happened to him the last few episodes
Who, Huey?
with Huey, but I still like where his character ends up because despite everything, he's still and we talked about this, my wife and I, because I had the same reaction when she's upset about him having sex with the shapeshifter.
Yeah.
I was just like, fuck off. He didn't know because he did finally figure it out, but he didn't know at least the first time.
No.
Or I don't know when he didn't not know. I don't know. But the point is, I'm like, this man, and then I was like, the man's been raped multiple times, like in a few days.
Yeah.
Like, I don't, and then Ash, my wife said, she's like, but you got to understand she was upset in the moment because her boyfriend was sexually assaulted. Someone literally stole her identity and stole her memory, and everything. I was like, that's fair. And then they bring it back around where because like in that moment of two adults having a conversation about that, they have a moment where she goes, you're going to get tested for everything. Essentially forgiving him, being like, I know that it wasn't you didn't cheat on me. I know that you didn't do that intentionally. I was just upset.
Yeah.
Because she's been through a lot of fucking shit too. And Huey and fucking Annie have been through way too much shit this season because she had that abortion thing. She had what happened to Huey happened. Huey's dad died. Her powers aren't fucking working.
The whole Starlighter thing.
Oh, I
with her
gotta say,
friends getting
Anthony
beat up.
Starr again on the phone call to Victoria. Jeez, when he threatens her, he's like, I will, you're going to be my fucking puppet, and then I will send you pieces of your daughter until you're dead. And I'm like, Jesus. It's like, that man is truly, truly unhinged. And then I love that each time he keeps having these mental breaks, or each time he kind of just lets it, goes off the deep. You notice how, like, the room gets more messy and broken because he's just breaking things and destroying things. And, like, and he's crying because his own ego fucked everything up again. And it's just like, what a fucking little... He's such a good villain because he's such a little fucking baby. And I get he went through a lot of shit, but it's also like, he's still a fucking bastard. Like, it's like... And Anthony Starr is just so good at playing the character. Just so
really
good.
Yeah.
So what else do you want to talk about?
It's got to be fun to play the character, to be honest.
You know what? You know what's a forgotten
I've heard
Homelander line?
Huh.
A forgotten, brilliant Homelander line.
What's that?
Did your brain get fucked by stupid? Remember that? What a fucking weird line. But
he's a producer on the show now, so
or the
him and Carl Urban both are, and I think one other person on the cast. But that happens when a show's been going on for a while, and the actor like really obviously understands the character. You're gonna be allowed to pitch ideas for your own character.
Yeah.
And you're gonna be able to pitch dialogue too and whatnot.
Somebody asked if he was gonna thought of him playing. He was at like a convention, and somebody asked him about him playing Booster Gold, and he goes, "I have no idea who Booster Gold." He goes, "Is that character blonde?" And they go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Wow, that's original." Like, he's like, "Come on."
Isn't he Australian?
He's a New Zealander, I think.
Nice.
But
Those New Zealand accents, I love.
I can tell he gets annoyed because people still can't comprehend that he's just a good actor and like he's not really like this.
Well,
like
no,
this
he
character.
actually.
He's not
I read
Homelander?
that like he dyes his hair dark and like grows a beard out because like he wants to distance. I think his natural hair is dark.
Yeah,
I think he has to bleach it for the show.
he was in a show. I think it was just called Southland. It was like a cop show. He also did that for a while. I wanted to talk about the Butcher arc because that another example of a satisfying character arc. Something that
Before, because
They-
it leads into it, can we talk about the scene between Ryan and Homelander when he's like, "Come here," and he's like, "No." Like that's fucking scary, dude. And
oh yeah, when
I
Ryan
think at one point he thought about,
that is an order.
yeah.
Not come talk to you. That is an order. You will do as I say.
That's when he realized that he had to go. And now, obviously, we know that he's gone, and he killed. We'll get there, but I wanted to start there because that's important to the arc of Butcher, in what happens
yeah.
when Ryan comes by. But yeah, he's dead.
Yeah.
He's talked
And
to Huey.
it all happens
he
because
gives like the
he
farewell
still has a
speech
picture
to
of-
Huey.
He has a pic. Homelander freaks out because it's a picture of Butcher.
How come we
and
can't
Becca.
understand that it's because of like maybe a picture of his mom?
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? What an ass.
Homelander can't understand that because he's Homelander.
Homelander's a fucking douche.
But yeah, that all gets started because he sees the picture of them as a family, and it's like also of course he's too short-sighted to understand that Ryan was raised by Butcher for a long time, so he thought he was
Also,
his
Homelander,
dad.
you raped her, dude.
You raped her as well. Yeah. Keep clicking into the mic.
Stop it.
So yeah, at this point, Butcher, I love this detail. So his eyes are like bloodshot red. His skin is like sunken in. Clearly, he's like dehydrated. He's dying.
His hair is gray.
He's literally dying.
He's got gray
And-
temples, beard.
Yeah, he's falling apart. And he's, in this hospital, and then that's when Ryan visits him, and then we get a reveal that it's a CIA safe house that Butcher's in. And this is where Grace and this is another thing. The reason Ryan keeps coming back to Butcher is because Butcher just lets him talk and listens to him. Because nobody's truly listening to him.
Mm-hmm.
And Ryan has a moment of also being human and having that experience of being like, I don't want to necessarily leave. I like living there because it's Vought, so you have everything you could want there. Right.
Well, Grace
And
kind of
he's
fucks it up by.
and he's a kid, and but then
She
she
throws
oversteps.
too much shit. Yeah, dude.
And Butcher keeps being like, "This isn't how." He kept trying to say, "No, it's not like that." Like, no, that's not what I'm. Butcher, at the very least, was trying to get it to being like, This is not my intention. I'm not trying to do this. She's doing that. I'm not doing that. Listen to me. I don't want this to happen.
I mean, he was aware of the situation.
Because I also think at this point, to me, because he has a conversation with Kessler. Where Kessler keeps saying, you deep down still want to do this because we're still talking to each other. And I think, and this could be just me reading into it, I think Butcher had already thought, like, Butcher was already going to go through with this. And he was just reassured at the end of it.
Yeah.
And I think that, and the reason I say that is because he goes, if you want to be with Homelander, I'm not going to stop you. Because even I think he is at a point where he doesn't. What is it all like?
Well,
What does it all mean? What does it all matter
He's got to
anyway?
leave something behind to help the world that he is kind of fucked up himself.
Mm-hmm.
And what is he going to try and do? He's going to try and make the second, maybe someday the most powerful person on the planet, understand humanity, but also give him the confidence to stand up to, Homelander, who's probably the first most powerful person on the planet. He's trying to at least impart some of his humanity to Ryan before he goes.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Grace just fucking jumps up there.
It gets crazy because she's like, no, you don't understand. He's going to, like he raped your mom. Like it wasn't an affair. He raped her and like all this shit. And and just gets too crazy because he's like, what the hell? And then she tries. Then that's
then she tells him what's
that
up.
it's where they're at the CIA thing, and she wants to keep him there. And he's like, well, you just want to keep me here against my will, no matter what. And Butcher's like, let him go. And I think before he shoves Grace and snaps her neck against the wall and leaves.
What does she say that she's going to flood the room with?
Halophane.
Is that deadly to everybody?
Yeah,
like
that's
all
what they
three of them would die, right?
That's the gas they use to subdue Soldier Boy. That's the gas they use to subdue the soups.
Right.
And and he freaks out, shoves her against the wall, and snaps
Well, it's a
her
good
neck.
thing that she didn't.
No. I'm not saying she didn't have what was coming to
I mean,
her because
she would have died
she
anyway.
did give him no choice. And but he does have a look of like him kind of enjoying it a little bit. And then he leaves. And then Butcher like solemnly walks over to Grace, sees that her neck is snapped. And in that moment he's looking down, and then we see Kessler come into frame behind Butcher, and then Butcher looks up to Kessler, and then it's a good moment of look but don't or show but don't tell, of just a nod of like acknowledgement of like, okay,
An acknowledgement.
we'll do it your way. Because I honestly think he knew that Ryan was lost anyway when he talked to him, and he had already thought,
Well,
I'm gonna go through with this.
It started one way. I can't remember what, but Butcher said something, or they were talking about something. Butcher pushed back at him, kind of, and said, "This is what really happened," or whatever. What was it?
What do you mean?
They're talking while they're playing Connect 4.
Oh, yeah.
And they start talking about real shit, and he says something to Butcher, and Butcher says, like, no, it ain't like that. And Grace comes over and says something, and he's like, I can hear you.
Yeah.
And so, what did she say to him? Fuck.
Well, then she just kind of, that was about the time
That's
when
when
she
starts,
unloaded
all the
stuff.
shit, and it's like, you fucking punk. Why'd
So
you do that?
we then have that moment of acknowledgement, and then we have the thing where the boys meet up with Victoria to make the deal to get her and her kid out with the whole situation, because the president's in lockdown, because at that point they had stopped the shifter from killing the president, so he went further down in the hole. Starlight got out of her chains by degloving herself.
Oh.
Disgusting. And then they do explain it later, because I was the same way. Where I was like, how did you know where they were? And then they explain it in the next scene. They're like, you find your phone.
Oh,
so she
basically saves the
Kimiko
day.
gets her neck snapped, then she saves Kimiko, and Kimiko also and Frenchie finally kiss and close that loop. Something was so again proving my point that the Frenchie Kimiko shit was stupid and pointless. Sorry, it wasn't pointless, but it's just like, what are we doing? Anyway, I mean, it was a cute moment. It was a cute scene. It was nice to see them finally have that moment together. But it's also like, is it too little too late for me? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, what?
Yeah.
They're nice characters.
So
and now we...
So, yeah, then we find out, because Butcher just shows up. He says, "Oi!" And just walks into the scene. Immediately noticeable that he looks healthier. He looks like he normally does.
Right away, I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah, because
I'm watching at home, because I'm just like...
Yeah, when I was watching and I noticed, that's the first thing...
Well,
that's the first thing Ashley and I noticed. We both were like, he looks better.
All of us know at that... All of us know...
Yeah, we know that Kessler caused him to tear up...
Before he even shows
we don't
up,
know how.
It's a tense fucking moment. We know this. Like, fucking Frenchie's got his gun.
He's got a dart gun with the virus.
She's got the fucking secret or service guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of tension.
There's not a trust.
And then he shows up and you're like, well, shit's about to go down.
And I love that.
What happened?
And I love that. Okay, so in the comics, the boys all take V, and they're just it's I thought it was, if I remember correctly, it was like a certain kind of V that like didn't give them like superpowers in a sense of like they could have like certain abilities, but it just gave them like super strength, so they could actually fight soups.
Yeah. without dying.
And then Butcher just ends like he has his villain turn in the comic. And I want to give some credit here before we get into this. One, I will say this about the comic because I talk shit on it a lot.
Yeah,
There are things that I do like, and one of the things that I like is that Billy Butcher becomes the villain.
Yeah.
Because Billy Butcher, you could kind of look at him as kind of like the anti-hero Frank Castle archetype.
Yep.
And it only makes sense that that guy would become this full-on genocidal maniac like Frank Castle is, especially in the Jason Aaron book. So I'll give him points for that. And I love how this show is executed at because Butcher has always been a piece of shit. Always. He's just charismatic. He's just likable because it's Carl Urban.
Well, yeah.
But, yeah, he's always been a shit. And so to finally see him go here and get here, and to go here and get here. I've been podcasting for 3 years. You think I'd be better?
We've been hosting radio shows for longer than that.
But to get to this and then have it be like almost his powers be a creepy Doc Ock, like body horror Doc Ock, because he's even got the fucking trench coat like Doc Ock.
Is that what it's like in the comics when he gets powers or whatever?
Again, they don't have specific abilities. They're just invincible and strong.
Well, 'cause I'm God Dennis, ain't I? And I hate superheroes, right?
But
is that a good
So
Garth
yeah,
Ennis?
he shows up and we finally get to see what his powers are, and his chest just opens up and these gross, disgusting, and it's like literally his hatred for soups personified comes out of his body in these like gross tentacles. Again, like body horror Doc Ock.
Like mud. They look like gross, like decaying,
goes up,
cancerous.
Grabs Victoria, wraps her up, kills all these other dudes with his other tentacles, spins her around, and rips her apart.
In half.
Or rips her in half, whatever. Same thing. And I was shocked. I was truly shocked. I did not expect them to kill Victoria. I thought one of the boys was going to die. I truly did.
When Butcher showed up,
I thought Frenchie was going to die. I thought Kamiko was going to die.
Again, going into that scene, I think we all went into it the same way, or at least you and I, like, you know, a lot of audience members who've seen both of them. I think we went into it like Endgame, like this is something's going to happen, right? I didn't know what, but I knew it was tense. And like I said, then Butcher shows up. I honestly thought the only one who can die here is probably Victoria.
Yeah.
Without just being a major shock to the system. Because otherwise we're talking Kamiko or Starlight, right?
Yeah.
Or Huey. It ain't going to be Huey.
Yeah.
I kind of, that was my first thought when he showed up, was that it's got to be Victoria. If they're going to kill, or if he's going to kill somebody. It happened pretty quick.
And then
I remember just being like, what the fuck?
And then the moment afterwards when it all happens, everybody's like shocked, and then Frenchie just puts the gun on me like, you took the V, and Butcher goes, I'm gonna need that gun now, Frenchie. And he just says, no, I'm not giving it to you. Points it at him, and he just Butcher just stares at him. Because Frenchie knows if he wants to, he'll just take the tentacles out and rip his head off, or stab him in the, whatever it is, he'll kill him. He doesn't care. And so, he just gives up and gives him the gun because even MM is like, fuck you are, man. And he's just like, again, Butcher's just like, you seen what I just fucking did. And, it's like, well, okay. And then Mother's Milk finally sees the point of, like, he's gone. Like, Butcher is full on, like, Butcher's going to do what he wants to do. He's on his mission. And at that point, they're all like, we're going to die. And I love that point where he says to help Victoria when he says, fuck it. She's like, what do you mean fuck it? And he's like, we're going to die anyway. They're going to probably fucking kill us. So it might as well.
It makes sense. I mean, you're just going to be like, what do you
have to lose?
What do you got
They're
to lose?
They're going to kill you anyway.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with like Huey. Like, I think his speech is truly, I related to it so much because right now in my, life, mentally, whatever, emotionally, professionally, I'm trying different things. And it's not easy to look at things from a different perspective. But when you actually experience it, it's like, oh, holy shit. So I really related to that whole, like, let's try a different tack. We've been beating our heads against the wall. Why don't we open the door? There's a door right there. is literally what Huey's saying.
We don't have to do this anymore.
We don't have to jump through the windows.
Yeah.
We got the fucking door's been open this whole time, assholes.
And then it gets all undercut because Butcher shows up and rips her in half.
Which I'll say this, she's such a great actress.
Yeah.
And she really, really owned the role. I'm disappointed that the actress and the character are not going to be around anymore. But to me, I also think if you're like the head writer of that show, you're like, who can I kill off and still like not completely, have the audience just, rip me apart.
Taking a page from Matt Reeves, the show ends with some Nirvana. As we find out,
that was fucking cool though, dude.
Sage reveals that she was still working behind the scenes, and she has the video proof of the president saying, "You guys should have killed her when I told you to. We wouldn't be in this mess."
That worked really, really well because, like, especially when they were showing. Of course, we see the dick guy again, and he's got like a super kick-ass outfit on, like a costume. They all have costumes.
Yeah.
Starlight takes off. From Huey because he tells her to, or she's like, hey. Kimiko starts talking, and what's her name says to we don't know what she says to Frenchie, but it's presumably like, come with me, forget hers, whatever. Now what do you think about
so at this point,
can you remind me again why those two kids are working for Vought again?
The Speaker of the House,
I can't remember what happened at the end of Gen V.
Acting president, he puts in martial law.
Yeah.
So all the soups are hit squads now.
Well, then basically what we knew was going to happen is once he invokes it, Homelander's like, all right, get the fuck out of the way. You're done.
The one kid was experimented on, and he was the brother of Patrick Schwarzenegger's character.
Right.
And they
yeah.
So what happened to them is basically what happened to Homelander. Remember? Like that was,
I know, but at the end of Gen V, it seemed like they were all good again. Remember? I can't remember what happened at the end of that show.
No. I can't remember either. But no, at the end of it, the one that can manipulate the blood, she blows off that one girl's arm, and then Homelander shows up because everybody's like there was crazy shit went down because the virus was out at the school,
right?
And, like their heads were popping, I think.
That's right.
And then he showed up and was like, "What kind of monster are you? What kind of animal are you?" And lasers her, and then she shows up at the thing, whatever. So they're still around. I don't know how they're going to do season 2 because tragically one of the actors died in a motorcycle accident. The one who played, I think his name was Jordan. No, not Jordan. The one who had the dad that was
he died?
Yeah, he had a motorcycle accident. It was sad. He was only 27. It was fucking tragic. So sorry for that detour. So I think
So
overall
we're setting up a blast of a 6th season. I think. I think
now I think
5th, right?
5th season, and I think we are going to the full thing of comics. I think by the end of the season, Homelander's going to kill the dude who's the president right now. He's going to be the president, and Huey and Butcher are going to have to take him out. It's sad because they all got caught. So I don't know what's going to happen to them.
Who knows?
And Butcher's driving away. Still having the dart gun and the creepy Doc Ock tentacles. So, yeah. It'll be interesting. Can't wait. Can't wait for season 5. So, again, I don't know how it's supposed to work because I'm pretty sure it's Gen V season 2 and then the final season of The Boys. But, again, I don't know. As far as I know, they're still doing it, but I don't know with what happened. It's a tough thing because it's like you do have an out and just say that he was killed.
Sure.
But I don't know. Yeah. It's just awkward. And it's a bad situation because unfortunately someone tragically lost their life. But now we got to talk about overall, what would you give this season?
I'd say last season is still my favorite.
Oh yeah, season 3 was The biggest
fucking reveal.
Soldier Boy's
Boy.
back.
And we didn't even talk about Ashley and what the fuck ever happened to her.
Ashley runs away because they're gonna
Right.
fucking kill her. So she did steal some V from Homelander and fucking shoots up. So her hair immediately falls off.
Well, okay,
turns into this
she's been
weird
wearing a
thing.
wig for like years.
Yeah, I
now.
know, but it's just like crazy because
Right, her head starts
ups.
doing
Yeah.
shit, and like she starts mutating.
So that's
into
a dangling thread for the final season of.
dangling thread for you.
And then yeah, Soldier Boy. Holy fuck.
Whoa. Yeah, I think my favorite part of that end was when the president elect, or the president pro tem or whatever pro tem, whatever the fuck they call it, and he's all like, "I would like to invoke the and
martial law."
martial law," and then he starts trying to do a speech, and Homelander's like, "Get
Thank you,
the
Mr.
fuck
President."
out of the way,"
Yeah,
and like take him away.
Remember, you're my puppet. You're my toy.
And it was like, way to go, man.
Toys.
Hey, you remind me of Matt Gaetz, you stupid son of a bitch. Look what you done.
Yeah. The Acolyte.
Hey, listen, if you're going to sell your soul to the
I'll give
devil.
I give it.
I like the season.
I give season 4 5 love sausage dicks out of 5. Those big old schlongs. That Russian guy.
It was. I think it was still. It was still
always
up
him.
there. It's still up there, but the third season I think is still the best so far.
I'm excited to
I
see
like-
Soldier Boy back.
I like to think that
season
next
5.
year is gonna be the best of all of them.
Or whenever it comes out. Because usually it's like a year or two in between. Or usually like
I
2.
said that I meant the next season.
what you meant.
Shut up.
You dupe.
Hey.
You dupe.
Hey.
All right, let's talk about the
Right
Acolytes.
now?
Episode 8
Are
finale.
you sure you don't want to talk college football?
You want to split them up?
Yeah, I don't know. What do you want to do?
I want to just get through it. Because I want to say something right now. I bitched and moaned about the last episode. I will say this. I enjoyed this episode. And I also would have really liked this as a Disney Plus movie.
Yeah, what
What
is
a
the deal?
fucking
Just
waste
make a
of-
fucking movie. No.
What a waste of time.
'Cause-
What a massive
wow.
waste of time
Wow.
8 episodes was. Just make it a goddamn movie. You could have told that whole backstory in like 10 minutes, and we could have had this whole
But would
other
it have
thing.
been? But would have has been as effective at the end? And you really would
Probably
have
more effective
You
because I
really would
really
have had to
hated
make.
it
You
because there was too much of it.
you really would have had to make a trilogy, because this is the first, at least. Did you like the Darth Plagueis cameo? Did you like the Yoda cameo? Are you like it? Do you like how they still somehow tied it into the fucking Skywalker saga? Son of a bee!
Well, you knew that was going to happen.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of the dark side. Or the
I honestly was hoping that they would. Sorry, I'm honestly was hoping that they would turn Osha into Plagueis. Like that would be the big twist. She ends up being Plagueis. She because she kills the stranger.
yeah.
Right? We don't. Has it ever been stated? Fact or whichever. Well, I don't know what I'm saying. Has it
Fact or
ever-
fiction?
Fact or fiction?
What is
Has it
this?
ever been stated?
Believe it or not.
Ripley's believe it or bullshit.
We made it up.
We made it up. Did you know that most of this
Not
shit
this
we
time.
made up to sell books?
No.
And you fucking bought it, America. 2. Now 3.
I don't believe that. Ripley.
Hey,
Yo, Ripley.
I believe it not, Ripley.
Most people will say, I don't believe it. But
Fuck you, Ripley. I believe it not. Furthermore, you're kind of a twat. Ripley.
all right, so let's talk about pop music.
I'm talking about the guy Ripley, obviously. The character in Aliens is
No.
also named. She's awesome.
Yes. So this episode
Was the Ripley's Believe It or Not guy? Was he British?
Fuck off.
Was he British? I want to make sure that I used
I don't care.
twat in
What
the
do
right.
you know who hasn't talked about Ripley's Believe It or Not in 2024? Most people, but here we are.
Really? Well, that's a goddamn shame.
Well, I'll believe it not. Ripley?
Hey,
you see that?
No, it's fine.
Hey, son, you see that bit over there? We're going to beat it to death.
To death. And then we're going to believe it or not.
So anyway, Star Wars. So, consistently throughout, I will say, with this show, the fighting is great. I enjoyed the fighting a lot.
That final duel between Soul and the
okay,
Stranger
okay.
is fucking so
that was
good,
fun,
dude.
but I love the editing of it where they cut it where Osha and May hit each other, and then it cuts to them hitting lightsabers. I'm like, oh, that was a cool edit. That was fun.
How interesting was it that both finales of each show that we're watching this season of featured a must have been CGI'd helped moment between one actor playing two different roles, Aaron Moriarty and Amanda Sendler.
Yeah,
right? Isn't that fucking weird?
it is pretty weird.
How did they both know?
How did they know?
I believe it not, Ripley.
Ripley's Believe It Not. Ripley's Believe It Do.
I'm believing. I'm not gonna believe it, 'cause I'm Ripley.
Sounds like you were having a stroke.
Huh? Applesauce.
So
I like Star Wars.
we're the worst, dude.
We are the worst.
I was about to fucking do it too. That's the worst part. I was about to chime
You
in.
started it.
You know who started the dark side? Osha and May, apparently. So the Stranger and Osha, they have it before they get to the final fight. They have a moment where they're chasing each other, pretty much, or they're chasing after May, both of them. But she's trying to get to May, and he's trying to kill Saul, pretty much. And they're doing this whole confrontation. There's a lot of controversy to this episode.
Oh, how so?
So when we get there and we have the fight, we have Saul. First of all, Saul used the Stranger's own method against him, where he turned off his lightsaber. It was like, oh, which I really think
Saul was a bad motherfucker, dude.
I think that, dude.
Unfortunately, he's also an asshole who's like, what are you doing?
The biggest disservice to this actor is this fucking show. Because Saul was the most important, like the most interesting part of the show, and then they completely ruined it in the last 2 episodes where I'm like, what the fuck are we doing with this? Why is he obsessed with these kids? We find out why, sure. Obviously, it's about the whole like the fact that they were conceived through the Force and all that stuff. But like, it's just his motivation was still this. Like, he had a chance to be like, no, I didn't mean to, but he said, yeah, I did. They don't deserve to have that power. And it's like, but who says that? And there's people complaining that they're like, well, this just confirms the Jedi are bad. I'm like, no. This confirms that he's a bad Jedi. This confirms that Saul was wrong. And it also shows that the twins, everybody was wrong in this situation.
This confirms that at a time when the Jedi were numerous through the galaxy, like all groups that become numerous, there are fucking shitheads like Moog. Is that his name, Moog? That guy is nothing. Nobody's ever going to write a goddamn Jedi story about Moog. Why? Because he didn't do shit. He, like, tended to other Jedi masters. That's it. Like, he was just a dude. He didn't advance any, whatever sword fighting technique. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
Now, that shows that even the best intentioned institutions can get too bloated to a point where you have to rein in every institution. You can't just let them keep getting more and more.
You need regulations.
More and more unchecked power. You just can't fucking do it.
You just can't do it.
Well, you can't. We're seeing it right now in people in power all over the world right now.
There's a couple of controversies to this episode because, one, we have a moment where Osha grabs a lightsaber and she's squeezing it and her rage is changing the crystal
Well, she makes the kyber crystal bleed.
makes it bleed, and everybody was like, "Oh, it took Luke this many days to do it in the comic book or whatever." And look, I used to be that guy. I was that guy. I was that guy with episode 7. I said that Rey was a Mary Sue. I was like, I think, why is she able to do?
So
hold
wait,
on, let me get there.
Hey!
Wait a minute, I'm making a point.
Whoa!
Slow. Hey, whoosh, pull back on them reins. Slow it up, boy.
Hurry up.
But right. But
But you're talking about.
I derail
Did
myself.
you forget?
Yeah, I did. I fucked it up. I lost it. My point was lost. You made me lose my point. It's your fault. No, my point was that, yeah, I was that guy who was like, why is she able to do these things? And it took Luke this long.
Took Luke how long for what?
To like grab the lightsaber or whatever. It took him a movie to figure out how to do that. She does it in this movie and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
Oh my god.
Hold on, let me get to my.
No, not you. Just
No, and that's what I mean. I had that moment of like, what the fuck am I doing? This is
It
look.
was cool.
There's
It was
something.
neat.
I understand if canon matters to you, and that is how you enjoy Star Wars, and this, that, and the other thing, and that's fine. But I'm telling you right now, I don't, and I don't give a shit. I just don't.
Even when I cared about canon, like.
And you can call me if that makes you call me an anti, like I'm not really a fan.
I suppose
Go
at some
for it,
point in
buddy.
my life, I
Take
suppose
it.
at
You have
different
it.
points in my life, I've kind of been that douchebag comic book fan or that douchebag Star Wars fan. Who's like, well, actually, of course, you know that I have that the pushing the glass. Oh, actually, oh.
Everybody's like that with a franchise you love.
Of course. But I don't know. I mean, look, I grew up at a time where all we had was 3 movies and a long-running comic series. And we had Bantha Tracks, which was the monthly newsletter from the George Lucas fan club. That's all we had.
When you start to understand it, like with that Defenders book that we read on the show, or like when you start to understand what we kind of like what Dark Knight's Metal kind of touches on, and like this idea of
Continuity can get too bloated.
yeah, that can get real complicated. But well, it's just the idea of like you have to understand then why we call that show modern mythology, and the whole idea of it is they're myths, they're archetypes, like you like that's the whole point. When you start to understand that, I think you start to understand the idea of like this stuff can change and these things change because it's not real. It is someone made this up.
What?
And then other people worked on this thing.
Hang on a second.
And put like how many times have we said that with continuity? Because every writer, every creative person, when they write or does anything with art, they want to put their stamp on it because that's what artists do, and it's bound to happen. And so like when we get down to the like, well, she could bleed the crystal, and it took Luke. I don't fucking care, dude. I just look, man. That is just not how I choose to engage with this entertainment. And if you want to do that, if that gets you fucking hard, go for it, buddy.
Dude,
I don't care.
Sure.
But I'm tired of caring about this shit. I really am. Like, do whatever you fucking want.
Can I do my
Proceed.
counterpoint?
Yes. I'm sorry. I was rambling there.
Here you go, you fuckface. No.
Talk, bitch. You talk when I tell you to.
Talk, yeah. Now it's your turn. As far as canon goes, I know that you have to make the kyber crystal. You have to make what? You have to make the kyber crystal bleed to get the red Sith lightsaber. Okay, I know that.
Yeah.
I think that's cool that we saw that for the first time on film.
You actually saw it start to bleed.
Do you fucking hear me? On film, somebody actually captured a real lightsaber being turned into a real. That's how much I'm into this franchise. Obviously,
How much would you give him?
$1 million, bitch.
we have so many other ones. That's a classic.
Yeah.
But if we're gonna do a classic, I'd much rather have "I'll Eat Your Ass."
Come here.
Sure. Sure, no problem. Wow. Somebody just threw something across the room and pulled.
What'd you do?
Yep.
Are you done?
No.
I said that to myself on them drops. Kyber crystal bleeding on film.
It sounds really well.
It'd been talked about in the books. It'd been in the comics.
Sure,
We've
right?
never seen
But
it
it's
in live
cool. And as far as being able to grab a lightsaber or what, I don't. Fuck off, man. Who cares? And you know what's really, really cool?
How can Yoda as a Force ghost strike down this with light? I don't fucking care.
Fucking whatever makes the
How is he a
story.
fucking ghost?
Right? Jesus Christ. How are we in a galaxy
magic.
far Space wizards.
You fucking idiot! It's space magic.
One of the cool...
How could they have babies in the Force? I don't fucking care. It's space magic. Jesus.
One of the greatest franchise
It's silly
theories that I think is out there is the James Bond codename theory, which is that Sean Connery was playing a character whose codename was 007 James Bond. Then he died at some point, or he retired.
Right. And
then Roger Moore,
yeah,
blah,
like
blah, blah,
first,
right?
It isn't the first idea.
You know why
of
that's really fucking cool? Because that means every writer who writes him after that can put his stamp on it, and no previous writer is going to get butthurt about it. Yeah, I said that. I think that's probably something we don't say anymore, butthurt.
No, it's fine.
Okay. But no previous writer is going to get butthurt about it, and but you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
That's why James Bond, even though it's
inherently a legacy character.
Sure. But
that's
why it's a cool theory, because it allows, that's why the Elseworlds books are so cool. That's why
it's always fun to do that.
If DC is going to make Elseworlds books, why the fuck are you rebooting anything?
Who
Just
cares?
say it was an Elseworlds book, asshole.
That's always your out.
Right?
It's a what if book.
That's one of the few things that I love about DC is that you can literally...
I think DC understands it more than Marvel of like these are mythological characters.
Yes, and you can play with that more than anything.
And sometimes
Honestly,
when I'm reading DC,
so I'm coming day and night. I mean, it's terrific.
Back to Star Wars.
But you basically have Marvel and then the then the Ultimates universe in Marvel.
Well, I don't want to get in the weeds with that.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And that's DC. How many? God,
yeah.
Countless fucking,
Yeah.
right? Countless goddamn time. And we've seen them all. Anyway.
So many crises.
So many crises. Hey, we got another crisis, boss.
That's a crisis. I believe
well,
it.
Fucking great.
That crisis, I believe it.
You
Not.
fucking dick. Ripley. I believe it. Not Ripley. Now get me
out of this hole.
Out of this hole.
This plot hole a-hole.
Get me out of this. Get me out of this. Get me out of this announcing hole. Review hole. Because I don't know where to go from here. The point is that I really I like the show. I like all of the all of the Jedi type shit.
The other controversy is one. It's like people are like accusing this of like dangling the carrot of like nostalgia bait of like it's fan service of like it's Plagueis. Ooh, this is where Plagueis gets the idea about Anakin. And then there's people mocking that and saying it breaks canon. I'm like,
how?
I don't care.
Me fucking neither, dude.
And again, if you do care, I'm not saying that's stupid that you do. I'm just saying I don't.
Right. Yeah.
Do it.
Listen,
Fucking have your thing.
You know what? This is perfect for religion. I will never make fun of you if you go to church
Or you
every
believe in God,
Sunday.
I don't care.
I will. But the minute that you come to me and ask me if I've heard of the fucking wisdom of Jesus Christ or some shit, that's when we have a fucking problem, bro. That's when we have a fucking problem, bro. That's when we have a fucking problem, bro.
And if you come to me and tell me that you like Star Wars theory, that's when we got a fucking problem,
bro.
Because I hate that fucking guy.
What? Star Wars theory?
He's some
It's a
fucking guy that he's a Star Wars YouTuber. He was big for a while, like a long time, and then at some point he like took a chud turn, took a left turn to Chudsville, and
more like a right turn.
been hanging out with Mahler and those other fuckers, and I was just like, well, I already didn't find your takes good, and now they're definitely not because he's just he is one of those guys. Well, actually, but he's also someone that just posts like he just hangs out with. He hangs out again with like Nerdrotic and fucking Mahler, so I'm like, he's probably not a good guy. And then I see
stop talking about him then. Why are we talking about
You
him?
know what? Yeah, why am I wasting my oxygen?
I
Why did I go
over.
fucking-
Well, no, you were fine. I asked about him. Because What,
No, I meant the accent. Didn't
Overall,
make sense.
What am I doing here for, boss?
You feck.
Yeah. The
America.
Liberty Prime.
yeah, you're not allowed to use those.
No, I'm sorry. It looked like
Ever.
It looked like this one.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe fuck yourself.
Overall,
Sloppy.
I think I do want to see another season.
No.
Okay.
I
I
don't.
think the
I
tragedy
don't.
of Saul is great because you get that twist of like she was saying to him, "I'm sorry," because she's got to make him the scapegoat in all this to save the Jedi Order,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Dude, that's tragic, and that's
Well,
pretty cool.
I also yeah.
It's not cool. I'm saying it's good writing. It's good setting up.
You're gonna get torched on that. People hate this show, but yeah, you're right. I think they.
Who fucking hates this
No,
show?
no, I think-
Carter and I like this show. I don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks because my brother, who made my parents take me to
my
Star
brother
Wars,
could beat up your brother.
fucking A. And no, if you ask him, I did not say that on the air because I don't want people.
nothing but garbage.
Well, I don't want people trying to
Nothing
fight
but
my brother.
garbage, guy.
Who's gonna fight your brother?
I'm saying like if
I
I
don't know who he is.
well, let's go take let's
I'm gonna take you to.
let's do this.
I'm gonna take-
Let's do this.
I'm gonna
We'll
take you
be-
outside.
We'll be back. You won't notice.
Oh, he's always got his shit right before we're talking about comics. Always. Poop break. We'll be back, and we're going to be talking about.
my headphones off.
We're going to be talking about. Hold on. You're going to want to have your headphones on this. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite books. Just a
Good
book,
country.
God Country. Good Country. It's God Country. So
God Pantry.
we're going to take my dog out. He's taking a shit. So do me a favor and.
Good country.
All right, Tyler. We got a comic book post Cooper potty break. So this book,
Did he actually do anything out there? I think he just wanted to go outside and bark at everybody.
he likes to just hang out. It really was just let the neighbors
I think
know.
there's people 3 streets away who might be coming out of their back door.
It's just funny to me, like the concept of dogs.
I need to bark.
The concept of dogs barking, because it's really to me being like, hey, don't fuck with me, man.
Don't come over here.
This is my yard.
So why are you?
Why are you drawing attention to it?
Yes. Why are you hollering at them? You would be dead right away in Predator.
Hey, if you're curious, I will bite you. Don't come over here.
If
I didn't plan on it.
Cooper,
Fuck you.
Cooper. In the movie, somebody else gets killed first
All right.
in Predator, but Cooper
So-
would have been because he would have been barking at the Predator.
So this book is God Country.
Love you.
This is a book that I heard about for a long time, and a book that I had been meaning.
And he
to,
just would not shut up about it.
True. A book that I had been meaning to pick up for quite some time. Just recently got it back because, funny enough, I love this book so much that I loaned it out to a few friends where I'm like, you should read this. And specifically, I gave it to people that don't normally read comic books or haven't really read comic books. And I'm like, you should read it.
And they gave it back and said, I'm never going to do it again. Just kidding. I love this book.
But yeah, and I made it a point to give it to people that traditionally that I know aren't much of a comic book reader. So to give it to them, because it really is such an interesting book because it's 6 issues. It's self-contained. This is it. There's no sequel, and it doesn't need one at all. It's a beautiful story by itself.
We don't need any fucking prequels.
No, but this is amazingly Donny Cates' first book. This is before he broke into Marvel with the Venom stuff and Thanos Wins and Cosmic Ghost Rider and all that other stuff. Hulk, Thor, all that.
Immortal Hulk is...
It's funny, though, because
no, sorry. He did the Hulk after that. Sorry.
you definitely feel the seeds that were planted for what he was kind of do with Thor in this. It's its own thing. It's completely original, but it definitely has that. Like, he's wearing his inspiration on his sleeve. in
Well,
this book.
so, like, one of the things that you really don't know, but off and on, I had been kind of, every once in a while, I'd go back to the comic shop or whatever, And I remember reading around the time that you and I started hanging out and talking comics. Obviously, we've been talking comics since we started hanging out, but we've only been doing
For 3 years.
For 3 years last Tuesday. But one of the first books that brought me back into reading comics semi-regularly was Silver Surfer Black by Donny Cates. And I can't remember the artist, but it's fucking fantastic.
Oh, the art's insane.
Right. But that was one of my favorite books because it was such a fucking cool way not only to bring back the Silver Surfer from the end of, I think it was Annihilation was the end of it, was the big crossover event where Silver Surfer died or something.
Yeah, I think so.
And so it was a great way to bring him back, but also to kind of finally and completely just get rid of all that. I used to kill whole worlds. And what did fucking Ron Mars do a couple years later? Brought that back. Boring. Hey, you know what I want to see, Marvel? A Silver Surfer who isn't totally guilty. You know?
I also want to give a shout out to
Guilt-ridden.
one of my favorite comic book YouTube channels, Comic Pop. I can't remember when they did it, but on their show Back Issues, they covered this book a while back. That's the first time I'd heard about it. And that's really where I kind of first heard about Donny Cates and all that. And you and I have talked about on the show that we generally like his work. And it's just funny because
Mark Russell was another guy.
I knew the context of this
I'll be
book,
following.
and I'm sure we've done this show for 3 years. I'm sure I've shared this on the show, but my father passed away. And I had known about the context of this story, like the kind of the basic plot of it. So I was like, it was in my head. I was like, okay, let's see how many pages it'll take before this book's going to fuck me up emotionally. And then I was like, for Dad. First thing I see before I open the first issue, and I'm like, whoa, okay, here we go.
Yeah, and we both have, for different reasons, we both have complicated father-son relationships.
Yeah.
You have a son of your own now, and you know my dad is still around, but I've talked to him maybe 3 times in the last 25 years, and I have at whatever point I forgave him for whatever. I wasn't, I had fine childhood and whatever. But he was, just not there. Mm-hmm. He did teach me how to play guitar. So I knew there's a movie called Big Fish by.
Oh yeah, I definitely thought about that too.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know about
Tim
you,
Burton,
but
right?
Yeah, I don't care how many times I see that movie. The end scene where they're running to the river. That whole thing where he's telling his dad how he dies, which is the point of he finally gets it. He finally gets what his dad's trying to do. Like, you need to tell me a story, man.
And
it's so fucking beautiful. I cry every fucking time when everybody's giving him a high five on the way to the river. And he goes, and they're just so happy to dude. I have complicated relationships with father-son stories too.
I'm so glad we talked about this book when we did, because of the conversations you and I have had off air, and how this book has such a beautiful idea of legacy. And this is gonna be a sobby episode. I can feel it.
I'll be
You're
fine.
tearing up already. I'm gonna start crying.
Oh, I'm not.
Oh, but I will by the end of this. Probably. And it's just a lot of things. I'm so. It's beautiful. It's rare to find something that's so spiritually, on like every possible level, a book could speak to me. It's got all of the silly, insane action and mythology that I love, but it's also got this amazingly touching story about a father and son.
Do you know?
And this is, by the way, I feel bad. I feel for this guy. I really do. I feel for Donnie, because clearly his dad meant a lot to him, because the father and son dynamic is a running theme he has throughout almost every book. Not every, I don't want to say every book, but almost every book he's done. There's some aspect to a father-son relationship, good or bad.
Well, Silver Surfer Black was about a lot about Silver Surfer and Galactus.
And a lot of his Venom run is about Eddie and his kid.
Yeah, Dylan.
So, and Dylan is the current Venom.
Can I say one thing? To me, as far as as an overview, to me, the most important message of this book is that it's okay to let go.
Yeah. Well,
more than any other message.
So the book opens in an interesting fashion because it opens with a Blood Meridian quote, which makes me laugh because I'm like, of course he's gonna quote fucking Blood Meridian, this magnum opus, which I've been meaning to read. I've heard nothing but great things. But Cormac McCarthy.
Oh yeah.
That's the one with I can't remember the name of the villain, but it's a horrible.
I've
villain.
read some Cormac McCarthy, but not that one.
You did The Road as well.
I read that one. Interesting.
The
Great
Wrath
book
of God
because
lies
it's not
sleeping.
capitalized anywhere.
Yeah. The Wrath of God lies sleeping. It was it was hid 1,000,000 years before men were, and only men have the power to wake it. Hell ain't half full. Hear me. Ye carry war of a madman's making into a foreign land. You'll wake more than the dogs. So it's interesting that this book is it's really Texas. It's all about being a Texan because he's a Texan. Donnie's a Texan. This is where he's from. And I love how much he does it another running. You could see so much of where it all begins is this fucking book. You know what I mean? But like you see so much of his style of blending contemporary characters with these mythological gods. And what's that like where you have this god from another dimension land in fucking Texas and his response is, get the fuck off my lawn. When the gods say we want the sword back and he goes, come and take it. Like fucking, and you cheer for him because you're like, fuck yeah, fuck him. Finders keepers, bitch. And because you're rooting for him. Because you want him to have, because this whole idea of this book of him getting his memories back because of this sword is fucking heartbreaking.
Well,
because by the end of it, he's gonna have to let go, and it's like, ugh.
The first part of the book really shows where the family's at, and his dad has just lost it, and he's. I think I don't know about you, but I live with my mom, and so I'm aware of the fact that she's older. She's not getting any younger. I hope that I hope that she is lucid the rest of the way, but there's a theme also of at some point the roles are reversed. There are a lot of things I do that she can't do anymore. Like I cook a lot. You know what I mean? Things like that. And one of the things here, he feels what's the main character's name? Roy, and his dad is Emmett, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Roy has basically uprooted his family from wherever they were to come back to their home.
Because his dad has Alzheimer's.
And his mom's dead. So he feels an obligation to his dad to take care of him. Mm-hmm. And his wife and child are kind of...
And it's the classic...
Not there yet.
It's the classic story of the burden of... Again, the idea that when I have a kid, when my son at some point is probably going to have to take care of me.
Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about with my mom. Like right now, I'm experiencing some of that. Like not a lot, but I can see me being almost 50 and having problems with like my back and shoulders. You know what I mean? Like how much worse is that going to be when I'm older? Mm-hmm. And I'm saying like that connected with me.
Yeah.
Because not that my mom is at all, but because I know at some point that it's closer than it was before. That at some point I'm going to be taking care of her, and the idea of that that's are you how are you going to weather that? Will you be in a financial position to do it? All those things.
Secondhand experienced what my mom went through with her parents. So again, that's another way that this book speaks to me. And you know what? And truthfully, I would love to give my mom this and have her read it because I think she would love it as well. I think everybody would love this fucking book. It's amazing. Look. Is it a perfect book? No, 'cause there's no such thing as a perfect book. But for me, in my criteria, it is perfect. I would not change anything about this book.
My thing is, I texted you and said, like, every single fucking story that you read, you have to, and you're kind of expected to suspend your disbelief, right? Every story. And to be really honest, like, the more wacky and out there, but also grounded the story can be, with a good writer, in the hands of a guy like Donny Cates, because these kinds of stories, it's not hard to suspend your disbelief. And even when you kind of notice, like, there's kind of a big glaring plot hole at the end, but I don't care because the book's really good. And yeah, I won't tell you about it until we get there.
No, you won't, because there isn't any plot holes. This book is perfect.
You just said it wasn't perfect.
It all comes.
You just said it wasn't perfect.
When Roy's daughter
bite your tongue
goes up to play in the house, and his dad wakes up and freaks out, and he says, "Get the fuck out of my house! You hear me? I'll kill you! I'll kill you!" And his daughter sees it.
Probably the first time she's seen him.
Close up of just her eyes in the panel, and it's a very scary, traumatic moment to start your book. But it's like, it's a good tone setter of like where it is at the point where we really don't know how much longer Emmett could be not be in a home, because he was out and about.
Roy refuses to put him in a home,
and he got into a fight. He'll get into fights because he can't remember, and he'll pick fights with people. He's a nuisance. The sheriff is telling him, like, no, if this happens again, we're gonna have to either put him in home or put him in jail. Like, we can't do this anymore. And yeah, his after the incident with the kid, Roy's wife is kind of fed up, and he's like, I can't leave. He's my dad. Who's going to take care of him?
Yeah.
And yeah, it's that obligation that comes with the burden of, a parent dying.
Well, what part of it is not,
again,
what part of it is not obligation, and what part of it is I don't want to be put in a home. So how could I do that to my dad? Or my dad and my mom took care of me and put a roof over my head. How the fuck can I not do that for them in their last days? But like it or not, you're not going to be prepared for your parent to be that kind of a burden. No matter how much you love them, you will not be able to be around to watch them 24/7 to make sure they don't, like, accidentally get outside. That's when you're going to have to put them in a home, whether you like it or not.
You deserve to have a life.
Yes. Just don't put them in there and leave them until they die. Like, go fucking visit them.
His wife takes the kid and drives away, and he says,
during a big tornado.
So then a big tornado comes ripping through Texas. And everybody's freaking out because
I've never seen a tornado in Texas. I don't know.
It's in Tornado Alley.
Really?
Like I was saying, there was this storm. And I love that we don't really truly know who's narrating this. It's just been said that this story's been passed down through generations.
We do at the end.
We do, but we don't.
Whatever.
Wasn't like...
Not exactly.
Yes. Wasn't like none that come before it, and for that it never came out of nowhere, and it brought something along with it. I just love that it's written in clearly like a Texan drawl, and too, like, because yeah, and I always said the narration and that point of view benefits the story so much, because it's what we've been talking about in this very episode previously about. It does so great at world building and mythologicalizing. What's the word?
Mythologizing.
There it is.
I think.
Did you hear my brain?
I'm gonna guess.
Short out?
I heard the fucking wheels clanging together. They're off the fucking rails.
So this tornado is so big, and it just destroys Emmett and Roy's family home. And then
it fucking nuclearizes that shit,
as,
man.
Roy's wife and daughter were driving back. Yeah, there's a huge fucking thing, and then Roy's daughter's just standing, and there's this fucking black demon. This like pitch black demon is showing up, and he's like, ah! It's gonna kill her. And then we turn the next page, and it's a single page splash of Emmett just sticking this big fucking sword into this demon, just obliterating. And Jeff Shaw's art. I cannot say, I can't express enough how much Jeff Shaw's art perfectly and I know I say that a lot, but man, these two like fucking like what an amazing partnership Jeff Shaw and Donny Cates on this book. Like the art is fucking incredible in this book. Just unbelievable. And like this page specifically, like that, I love it. So yeah, he destroys it, and then Emmett, he said Roy wasn't much of a fighter. But Roy's father, hell, you ask anyone in the great state of Texas and they'll tell you all the same damn thing. Emmett Quinlan was a god. I fucking love it. You know what I mean? Like, I just love this, again, this, like, American myth. You know what I mean? This, like, Southern myth to it. This Texan story. I don't know. The sword's name, because of course it had a name. Again, I love that. Valaflax. So, how do you feel about the sword? Valaflax. Because it taught Valifax. No, whatever. I'll pronounce whatever the fuck I want, Tyler. All right?
Look, I mean...
So how do you feel... No, but how do you feel about the sword? Because the sword...
Well, you have to make a sword that's the sword of all swords. Like, literally every fucking sword that ever existed, has existed, will exist. Yeah, okay. I
love that shit. I love it. Because it does have a narrative purpose later in the story. Like, I don't know. Again, you might not be into that, but I love it. This book is perfect. You can't tell me.
It's not perfect.
It's not.
No. You just said that a while ago.
I know it's not perfect.
Are you sure?
But to me it is.
It fucking sounds like you think it is.
So it came through that storm and chasing that demon. So yeah, Emmett claims the sword, and then did you say Grandpa? And then he starts to... You know, that's when we get whenever he's holding Valifax, he can remember his family. And again, I figured you would appreciate this because this is very Kirby. The chain breaking. Like that very much feels New Godsy, doesn't it?
Mm.
All right. So the first issue ends... I love the narration into this. So, and it began to hear with a storm, an old man, his family, a demon, an ancient, indestructible, enchanted 12-foot sword, and the god who wanted it back. And it's just a one-page shot of this big god. I don't know. Again, I've always loved that kind of stuff. I like the first page is just a side thing of Emmett just fucking around with the sword. And that's when he continues to explain that, like, I can remember. This part, this is what I love. Even if there's a moment of levity, it's immediately followed by a heartbreaking moment. Because you have a moment where it's Janie, ain't it? Yes. Emmett, you remember my name. And then it cuts back to his wife being pregnant. And... his daughter's got to be like, 5, 6 years old? So that implies that he's been dealing with this for like 5 years. That's fucking tragic, man. It's like you get a moment of levity, and then the next shot is that one page of like Roy describing her to his dad in the hospital. So like it's been going on for a while. And that was the first time I was like, whew, that's rough. That's heavy shit. And the best part, too, is, like, we keep having these conversations, and Emmett says, I'm not going anywhere, and he uses the sword to recreate his home. So the sword helped him just rebuild the whole home. Does that necessarily make sense? Probably not. Don't care. Still love the book. So then, kaboosh! We get the God of War showing up on Emmett's doorstep. And this is where, like, the big concept of the book is, like, these gods just keep showing up and Emmett keeps fighting him because he's like, I will fight as long as I can to have these. So, that, like, also, I want to point out this dude...
Well, that's not really what happens, though, is gods keep showing up and he keeps fighting them. No. Adam shows up.
That's the concept. I know, but I want to pull up his name.
Well, that's Adam. It's Atum. Attum.
No, it's Aristus.
Okay, well, Adam is the name of the father.
The other guy, his dad, yes. But Aristus is probably one of the best characters in this.
What?
He's honorable. He
He
doesn't
is-
want to fight him. He
is
says
a
several times.
Paper mache copycat.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Come on. He's like every other. He's like every Thor, Hercules / whatever.
He's Roy.
He's the son of a god. Okay, fine.
He's Roy because both their dads' ego got them
Fair.
there.
But he's not the best character.
But
in the
Emmett
book.
was man enough to realize
He's
his
not
own
the
ways.
Best character in the book.
I would argue he is
No, he's not.
because he's a G. Yeah. Why not? Tell me why not? Because multiple
I already told
times
you.
he shows up. He says, "Emmett, we need to talk. I'm not going to harm you. Let's just have a chat." This is a beautiful realm, Emmett Quinlan. What do you and your people call this? Texas. I just love that shit. But I love this part because we get the explanation of Valifax where it's like it's not just a sword, it's the sword, it's the god of blades. So essentially, what happens is they have a discussion, and then while this is happening, Emmett goes to his wife's grave where he remembers where it is, digs it up, and then his expression on the one panel, he's got this really happy look of like he sees the tombstone, he remembers. And then in that memory, it's him and his wife with the same expression on his face, and they're holding each other at they're at a club or at a bar anyway, dancing. And it's like, fucking Christ, man, why does this book keep punishing me? As I keep thinking, because it's sad. Because then he has that conversation when he says, "If I give you the sword back, are there gods that could maybe give me my memories back and fix my Alzheimer's?" And Aristus goes, "I don't know what that is. We don't have that where I live, so we wouldn't know how to deal with it. Like I can't. You'll lose your memories without a sword. I can't help you." And then in that moment again where it's sad, where he's like, "I remembered my wife, and then I remembered she died, and that wasn't a great memory, but it was mine. Damn it! And I want my memories back." And it's like, at the heart of it, that's the saddest thing about this disease. It's the saddest thing about this story. It's like, that is the cruelest thing, to just steal someone's identity. And it's fucking sad, man. Their identity, they lose everything. They can't remember who they are. They can't remember. It's fucking sad. And it's scary. And you talk about legacy, that scares me because I think about that maybe, with my mom. And if I have that with, that happens to me with Lincoln, or it happens, you know what I mean? Like,
I don't have any kids, dude. How do you think I feel? I'm like twice as old as you are. I might never have kids. What the fuck am I leaving? Nothing. I'm just saying, man, you want to talk about legacy, I'm definitely hearing about it. I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I got nothing.
So anyway, I mean, what do I do? I mean, because again, that's the thing. This book is so damn good. It makes you existential about this shit. So then he's like, okay, well, I have a message for my father, because he's like, Emmett's like, I'm not giving up the sword. And that's just the thing. I want my memories, and I'm keeping them, and I'm keeping the sword. So then Aristus goes back to his father Adam, and that's where he says, he has a message for you. And he says, what? And he says, come and take it. And see, and this is the thing. We don't get it. We get it here where there's the parallels between Emmett and Adam. Atum is the fact that, again, the things that they dumped on their kids. And that's what every parent deals with, is the fact that no matter how human beings, one way or another, whether it's intentional or not, we hurt each other, and we cause trauma, and it happens. It's a part of life, right? But in this case, a lot of the trauma would have been fixed for Aristus and Roy if their fathers would have just listened to them and had real conversations. Because even when Emmett gets the sword back, he still has conversations with Roy, and Roy's upset with him, expressing his emotion to his father, and his dad goes, your mom hugged you too much. Basically saying, stop being a pussy.
You don't think every time I've tried to have a decent conversation with my father that I've gotten back, well, the man fucking refuses to have a real conversation with me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to say how do you think that makes me feel, but honestly, like I am desperately wanting to speak to him and talk to him about what my childhood was like and what he failed to do, and he fucking refused. I'll never get that closure. I mean,
mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's one of the big things in this whole
No matter
issue.
what you want, people are not going to necessarily give it to you, whether you think they owe it to you or not.
Yeah, this part of the story.
So get used to disappointment is kind of what. No, I'm serious,
Yeah.
dude. To me, the best message about this book is get used to disappointment and letting go is okay.
Yeah.
You have to at some point, or
Yeah.
you're just going to be grief ridden the rest of your fucking life. Is that what you want? I wasted 20 years of my life because my dad divorced my mom. No, I liked drinking and getting fucked up. But I had a great fucking reason to lay at the steps of any fucking person who tried to help me, didn't I? Well, my dad left my mom, you know.
Yeah.
But what was it really? And I mean, I've gotten over that part, but I also want to tell dad, like, also want to tell my dad, hey, I got sober, no thanks to you.
Yeah.
On my own.
So this book, a lot of it is Emmett playing with his daughter, his granddaughter, and then there's a discussion between Janie and Roy about how Roy feels guilty because he prayed for something to happen, and the tornado happened, and the sword happened. And she's like, "There's no way that you could have known that had happened."
Well, it's human nature to
and
blame
he's like,
yourself
"Well, you
for
really
everything.
believe that after the fucking god just landed in our backyard and this sword showed up?"
How many times have we all like had those moments where you're like, if only I hadn't thought that or whatever? Like, I think we've all had that moment at least once in our life.
But
when you
yeah.
thought something bad about something and then or somebody and then something, you know, not maybe what you thought, but something happens to that person and you feel bad. It's not that you caused it. There's no possible way you caused it, but the fact that you happen to be thinking something similar or whatever, you know, or bad about that person, whatever.
But yeah, what I love about that scene is it's a great illustration of what caused a lot of friction in that relationship of just being like, I'm just trying to have a fucking conversation with you and you can't, like, you just all this like he even says, can we just talk for a minute of all this crazy shit that's happened? The tornado, the demon, the sword, the gods, like what do we like and just have a conversation. He goes, your mom hugs you too much? Like, what the fuck? And then his dad to finally have that moment of like talking about his mom and like the memories and stuff. And it's like it's a societal problem, I think, and I talk about it a lot. I think about this a lot, and I've had conversations about that a lot. And for a long time, society has created this asinine notion that men shouldn't experience or feel or have all emotion, and we should be these guarded, stoic guys, and it's silly because you're just walling people off. And when you don't create an environment to have someone fully express themselves, you get friction in a relationship. And that's the problem with Roy and Emmett, where it's like all this time, just talk to me. But so then Roy gets bit by this like demon, and then this lit up, and then we see, this horde of zombies show up, and they have their thing, and they fight, and
there's a big to-do.
There's a big to-do because the kid gets kidnapped and taken to the hell. So then Emmett goes to hell while Roy and Janie try and fight off the zombies. Valifax finally shows why he's the god of blades in this fight, where he takes all of the knives out of the...
That part's pretty fucking good.
I fucking love that. When he takes all the
He took
knives.
all the stuff, but then he also took the window. He also took the windmill.
Oh, yeah, he ripped the
and
blades off.
Turned it. Didn't he turn them into blades?
Yeah.
Because they were kind of blade shaped.
Yeah.
Kind of.
But you know what?
That part was fucking cool.
I love that. That's
it. That's all I liked.
That's again leading into this being a comic book.
That's it.
Having these real human moments and conversations, but also again leaning into the absurdity of like, okay, that's fucking cool. We're just gonna take the knives out of these drawers and stab all these.
I'll hand it to him. Like there's no shortage of genre crossing here, or mashing, and it's done pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to hell.
So Emmett goes to hell the next issue, and he deals with everything. And I love how this is the interpretation is hell is Texas, but
Well, the
it's
hell
just
that he's in is underneath the realm called Texas, and there's countless. They talk about like
it's based
just
on where you
like
live.
everything. There's
Yeah. I
countless
love that
versions.
idea, like that cool idea. That's a cool concept. So he's walking around and he sees the wolf, and he's talking to Valifax, and they're getting ready to go fight the god of death. Janie and Roy are still holding off the zombies. He kicks down to the door where the god of death is, and the sword is like, be aware of him, he's a deceiver. And then he brings out Emmett's wife.
Yeah.
And she looks like the younger version of her that we see. I don't think we ever actually see an older, because it's always, the only time we ever see her, it's Emmett's ideal, his memories of her, his idolization of her. So it's always when they were young, which is kind of sweet and cute. So he sees her, and she's like, do you remember me? And he's like, and Valifax is screaming at him, don't drop me. If you set me down, this all goes awry. And so, yeah, he's just sitting there, and he's like, Elizabeth, where are we? What's happening? And she's like, it's okay. So eventually, what essentially is happening is like this, whatever she is supposed to be, this, her spirit or whatever, is trying to pretty much like coax him to like give up and let the god of death take him. But eventually Valifax shows up and fights the god of death, and claims he's unworthy because he's not using death properly, and banishes him, uses his powers as the god of blades, and then Elizabeth turns back into ash and disappears. And of course, and he's like, you took her. And then this other guy, I love how he looks, his design, he looks very impish, the god of death. So he's like, oh no, please have mercy. And then Roy just beats the shit out of him. Takes the kid, takes Valifax, goes back home. And so then Aristus has to show up now, because Atum is like, I'm going to give you this chest with this, again doing like the Thor shit. We're like, here's this magical weapon to fight this other magical weapon, and just playing to the fantasy of it. And it kind of goes in the description of how Valifax was forged. It was created by Atum, and how Atum was this great militant leader for what they wanted, but eventually their realm turned to shit because he's a greedy bastard. Like he's just one of those guys that's just obsessed with conquering. And
well, he won't let go.
He won't let go. He's like, I want my fucking sword back, because the sword was like, I'm tired of killing all these people.
He's used every piece of energy that he has to control this one fucking tiny fucking corner of a dead universe. And he's
because of his own pride and his own ego,
hatred and pride, and I won't go and whatever, which is a different way of, you know, like when somebody's dying and they're holding on to say goodbye one last time or whatever.
Or it's
a different thing. But when you're talking about somebody holding on for hate, just go already, man.
Yeah.
And that's basically what Aristus is saying about his own dad.
And then Emmett and Aristus have a really cool fight where they both have a really cool image where like they're jumping with the weapons, because Aristus has this big hammer that's supposed to help him fight the sword. He calls, and the whole time he's fighting Emmett, he's like, just end this, please, end this. Like, he will not stop. I don't think you understand. Even if you win, he's going to come after you. Like, it's never going to end. But Emmett's fighting and persists because, again, you can call, and then Emmett emerges with the hammer and the sword after they have like a big explosion and everything, and Emmett is saying, I'll kill you, much like he is at the beginning of the story, and then he sees his granddaughter again and realizes, okay, I am taking this. This really is never gonna stop. So his next solution is, I'm gonna go fight Atum and kill him, so then I can still have the sword. And again, I understand his motivations, but it still is selfish, because who's to say that somebody else is gonna come for that sword? So clearly somebody, like, you know what I mean? But, so yeah, that's what he's like, I'm going to do this. Even Roy is like, don't do this. Like, just give up the fucking sword. I understand. It's like, I think Roy is at a point of like, it's great that you have these memories back and I'm happy for you, but you've got, like the theme of the book, you have to let go of this. there's no way for us to like. What about us? What about the collateral damage if these gods keep tearing up the fucking planet? You know what I mean? Like tearing up our house, let alone the rest of the world. You know what I mean? So yeah, the solution is still to go to the fucking dying dimension that a tomb is in.
The kingdom of always.
The kingdom of always. So they have this really cool fight, and it basically leads down to a tomb impales Emmett in the fight, and he falls down, and Halifax. So the reason Arstus couldn't go back with Emmett is there was a wall.
He's barred.
That was blocking the
Until he
portal,
has
and
the
the
sword.
portal opened, because he's like, something has happened. Someone has the sword, whether it be a tomb or Roy, Emmett, and that's where he's like, Roy, you should probably come with me because he's probably dead. It's probably not going to end well for either of them. So anyway, Roy shows up with Arstus, and Roy finds his dad laying there with a sword. And this is the part where I broke down and cried, and I knew it was coming. And when I flipped the page, Ashley upstairs was like, "Are you all right?" Because I just went, "Son of a bitch!" It could, like, out loud, because it was just like instant. But Emmett is being held by Roy, and he said, "It would be nice to think of like that Roy would show up and save Emmett and save his dad, but the truth is, the damage done had left Emmett too weak to fight, and he couldn't even speak." And he's like, "Dad, what are you? No, like, what are you trying to say?" And he said, "But that was okay, because in that moment, Emmett finally did let go, and when he did, he gave his son everything, and it's just all these memories of Roy, of getting married, when he's a baby, when he's going to school, when he's like every single thought, every single thing that he wanted to say or couldn't say was in that moment, and it's like." Such a beautiful moment. And it's like, I didn't get that, and reading it and having it in this context kind of gave me a new perspective on it. You know what I mean? Where I'm trying to think of how to phrase it, because it's in my head of how I want to describe it. I want to describe it of like, I like to think this is what would have happened with my dad. Not literally. But I'd like to think that would happen. And I've just been thinking about that a lot. And thinking about the process of grief and how you're never truly through it. You're never truly over it. And it changes you for the rest of your life, and it's just something you live with. But this did help, I think, in seeing this portrayal of someone letting go like that.
Well, one thing is
Powerful shit,
understanding that as humans, we perceive time in a linear way.
Right.
If you perceive time in a circular way, we're always alive. We're always here in some form or fashion.
Yeah.
Every moment is happening every time, over and over again.
Birth, death, constantly.
Right. But as humans, since we see linear, death is so hard for us to accept as a necessary part of life.
Yeah.
Imagine if we were immortal. After about 100 years and you kind of learn everything, like what then?
You'd probably really
at some point you get bored, right?
You'd be annoyed, you'd be bored.
So, Secret Wars 2 back in the 80s with Marvel was the Beyonder coming to Earth to understand what it meant to be human. And what he was trying to understand, what he ultimately figured out is what he had to do to understand to be human was to be able to die. Was to have an end to his life.
A
legacy.
Yeah,
what are you going to do at the
end.
end? What happens afterwards?
Yeah.
Do we even go anywhere, or is it just black?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I do know that that's definitely been on my mind, my own mortality, my own legacy. And what the
Yeah.
fuck am I even leaving anything behind?
So-
And will I even fucking know that I died?
So the book ends with Roy taking Valifax. In the background, this is
And
happening.
flinging it away like a big old pizza pie.
Parallels: a tomb kills his oldest son, his first son, while his whole world dies because of his own greed. So Roy takes Valifax and puts his dad's corpse into a star, and teleports home and leaves the sword. And they said my favorite part of that is like, well, the book was never really about a sword. But the ending part hit me hard and made me like, this is what I like what you and I were talking about with legacy and shit like that. And where this book hits the hardest is the end. So the point is we keep telling it because he says, where does it go? And so Roy told his story to his daughter, in parts she didn't know anyway, and Grandma D told her kids that story. So it's like, okay, it's a generational thing. But the thing is, like, the whole point of this is to say we keep telling this story.
It's probably Roy's great grandkids.
And that if we live our lives the way Emmett did, if we find all the folks who love us and we fight like hell to hang on to them and love them back the best we can, then people will always remember us. And none of us are ever truly gone. We'll just be stories. And I fucking love that sentiment. It's beautiful. Made me cry. I'm crying
I'll always
right
tell
now.
stories about you.
All right, Tyler. All right.
No,
we're not doing
Yeah,
it.
because we don't have time.
We're getting out of here. Taking a unzipping.
Oh, I thought we were gonna do kill me.
Oh no, I was gonna say we're gonna unzip this episode and throw it in the hamper and put on our jammies, put on our sweats, maybe some gym shorts, probably gym shorts with this weather, and we're gonna throw it in the fucking laundry, and then we're gonna fold that laundry. And what are we gonna do with that laundry?
Oh my God. Come in!
Off panel, off topic with Jake and Tyler.